Right now at 10, a local charter school ends its bid to join the Madison School District. What the decision means for the future of Forward Academy. A bus crashes into two Madison businesses. We'll take a behind-the-scenes look at the damage and preserving Madison's Black history, the people who paved the way for the men and women of tomorrow. It's all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. A proposed charter school focused on building career pathways will not move forward in its bid to join the Madison School District. Our Maddie Heimsch spoke with the school's backers about what led them to withdraw their plans.
Even though we formally withdrawn the application, we're not stopping our process.
We just really looked internally and decided we really weren't quite ready.
Forward Academy leaders John McKenzie with the McKenzie Foundation and Michael Johnson with the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County withdrew their charter school application over the weekend, just before the MMSD Board of Education was to vote Monday on whether or not to authorize it.
I don't want us to pull public resources away from our public schools because the dollars follow the kids.
Johnson says the authorization process for charter schools is challenging as it requires funds to be pulled from existing schools and programs within the district.
But at the same time, we feel very strongly that there needs to be a more robust workforce initiative for our schools.
That's something both parties say they're committed to working on together. MMSD Superintendent Joe Gothard releasing a statement reading in part, quote, "Our shared goal remains clear, ensuring all students have access to high-quality career preparation and work-based learning experiences." Both McKenzie and Johnson remain steady in their belief that the Forward Academy, or at least a project like it, is what students need.
It's career development, ultimately getting these kids out into internships, but we're also emphasizing wealth building and entrepreneurship.
Notably, students of color and lower socioeconomic status.
That's very important to address the wealth gap, the racial wealth gap.
In regards to the Academy's focus on trades and labor, I asked about the prospect of actively encouraging students of color to take on non-academic careers.
People say it's only about labor. That's BS. We want to teach kids not only about the trades, but how to become entrepreneurs, how to put together business plans, how to start their own business.
But with the proposal withdrawn, it's unclear how the Forward Academy will move forward at all. Reporting in Madison, Maddie Heimsch, News 3 Now.
A chance of rain throughout the night, and expect the wind to pick up in the coming days. Meteorologist Blaze Keller on the weather patio with more on our forecast.
That's right. It's going to be a windy but warm end to the weekend. We got to get through a couple rain, snow chances, though, before that. And we're continuing to track some rain out there across southern Wisconsin at this hour, mainly into Juneau and Adams County, the last of it wrapping up in Walworth County. We'll head down there in just a moment. But moving to the east of Mauston into New Chester, crossing over the Wisconsin River. These are pushing to the south and east fairly slowly, so it's going to take a little bit of time for them to finally move on out. The Dells picking up a little bit of rain as well. Down to outside of Lake Geneva in extreme southeastern parts of Walworth County, that rain shower is continuing to push off into more of the Milwaukee area's coverage area. And you can always track out these showers tonight, all throughout really the upcoming year by downloading our interactive weather app. You can zoom down to the street level as well. We're going to continue to see these showers move off towards the southeast overnight as we're kicking off our Thursday, rather. We may see another little batch of some light rain, some light snow through the morning commute that will continue to really be off towards the north and the east, but that may impact some of us here across parts of Dodge County, Jefferson County, as well as northern parts of Walworth County. We get a break into the afternoon before we potentially see the return of mainly rain to end your Thursday. Those would be scattered and off towards the east. Hanging out right around freezing tonight underneath mostly cloudy conditions. We're going to track out a few more chances for some rain, some snow, and maybe a mix of both, and talk about that warm Friday in the full forecast.
All right, Blaze, thank you. For years, a Dane County dog breeder has faced accusations of animal cruelty. It was back in 2017 when a small team from Direct Action Everywhere took this footage when they broke in and stole 3 dogs. The video sparked a public dialogue, which has been growing, to ask regulators and law enforcement to look into the farm.
We can look at the DATCAP reports and know that the conditions inside of Ridgeland Farms are not great. You know, the dogs are in really tiny cages in their own filth, and some of them have medical needs that haven't been tended to.
For its part, the farm says it's been operating lawfully for decades and that the dogs are bred for use in medical research, helping to create new and better veterinary products that benefit your pets. A restaurant and business on the east side are temporarily closed after a Metro bus collided with their building last night. Now, the owners of the restaurant, Asian House, are in disbelief. Stainless steel kitchen appliances dented, ripped off the walls, and yet the bus still dodged a major line. QPS Employment, a hiring agency based out of Brookfield, says that its back offices are destroyed.
That was an emergency exit door, glass, obviously the brick of the back of the building. I don't want to say superficial because it's major, but it can be repaired and we can still function and do what we do for the community.
Now, both businesses will be temporarily closed until they can repair the damages. They are working with the insurance company and also construction companies to assess the costs and recovery. Well, the town of Adrian's treasurer has been arrested after allegedly stealing funds. Adrian, a few miles west of Toma. The Monroe County Sheriff's Office says Kelly Schlussener was arrested after an investigation found she had been withdrawing money from the township account since back in April of 2022. In total, deputies say more than $294,000 were said to have been stolen. Schlussener is in the Monroe County Jail on charges of misconduct in office and theft. A new proposal looks to prevent price collusion among landlords in Wisconsin. That bill being drafted by State Senator Kelda Royce of Madison and Representative Breanne Brown of Whitewater. It would prohibit landlords from buying online price collusion software as a service. The offerings use private data from property owners to build algorithms that suggest optimal pricing strategies for maximum efforts. Now, Senator Royce took aim at skyrocketing housing costs in a statement to News 3 Now, reading, quote, "Housing costs are rising fast enough without letting landlords use computer-aided illegal price-fixing schemes. This legislation will help stop big tech companies from ripping off Wisconsin renters," end quote. And Representative Brown echoing that sentiment in a statement of her own, saying, quote, "Rents have skyrocketed since the pandemic and the problem is not getting any better. The bill is an important first step in stopping predatory landlords from colluding with each other to further inflate rent and prevent working Wisconsinites from thriving," end quote. Lawmakers right here in Wisconsin now debating a plan to expand Medicaid locally. Governor Tony Evers wants to increase Medicaid coverage to anyone making 138% of the federal poverty level. That's roughly $43,000 a year. That would cover the median household income for Wisconsin, which sits around $42,000. Republicans argue taking that chunk of Wisconsinites out of the private insurance marketplace would raise the costs in that system.
So by keeping the expansion from happening in Wisconsin, we have had no individuals, or almost none, who don't already have access to health care, but we have ensured that we don't increase the cost on the private sector.
Well, state lawmakers are expected to remove the governor's Medicaid expansion proposal when they take over the state budget process this spring. Eli Lilly announces a $27 billion investment plan for drug manufacturing in the United States. The drug-making giant says 3 of the sites will make active pharmaceutical ingredients, the foundational materials of medicines. The 4th site will make injectable products. The company's CEO emphasized the plan to build the new plants relies on renewal of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which lowered the corporate tax rate in the U.S. The Department of Agriculture outlining a new strategy to mitigate the spread of bird flu and lower egg prices. According to a Wall Street Journal op-ed, the USDA will invest $1 billion in this new plan. It includes spending $500 million to help enhance biosecurity measures to keep the virus off farms and cutting back on regulations on egg producers, making it easier for families to raise backyard chickens. Wisconsin now joining 44 other states across the country in testing milk for bird flu. Now, the Department of Ag, Trade and Consumer Protection in Wisconsin says when the testing was announced last December, they started working on plans with the UW's veterinary diagnostic lab. And since December, Wisconsin has only seen 3 cases of bird flu in domestic poultry. 90% of the state's dairy is pasteurized and made into cheese, but still, doctors with DATCAP say farmers should be aware of symptoms in their herds.
Pretty rapid drop in milk production in their cows, and also drops offs in feed and water intake. Might see fevers in the cattle and just overall cattle not feeling well.
According to the USDA, about 5 states have affected herds so far. One local family is using bikes to help the visually impaired. Tim and Nancy Valentine lost their daughter Kenzie back in 2017 after she was diagnosed with a progressive eye disease at the age of 2. Ever since then, they've been signing up for Cycle for Sight. The annual event supports the McPherson Eye Research Institute at the UW, raising money for vision research grants like the Kenzie Valentine Research Award. Celia Biesbach is one of the grant recipients. Her work tests different therapies to prevent blindness.
This project, this idea that I had, There was no other funding source for it, basically. And that's really enabled me to push this project forward much faster than I would have been able to otherwise.
Now, Cycle for Sight kicks off at the Princeton Club West on Saturday, March 15th. To register or donate, just head to vision.wisc.edu. Two boys from Ozaukee County are becoming close friends after a once-in-a-lifetime trip. Blake Baker and Tyler Morano are fresh off the plane from Arizona, where they spent last weekend hanging with the Brewers, swapping stories with sluggers like Christian Yelich and tossing out the first pitch at spring training games. The trip was put together by Aurora Healthcare, where both boys received treatment. Blake and Tyler live just 10 minutes away from each other, but it was this trip and their family's shared experiences that sparked the friendship.
It was really good for them to know that they're not the only ones who have experienced something challenging.
I think they're going to be lifelong friends.
Now, Blake had a tumor removed just a year ago. Tyler was treated for progressive hearing loss. Black trailblazers are telling their stories. These community historians are pioneers and say they want to preserve Madison's Black history. Our Tanisha Shaw has more.
Kenny James and Betty Banks are living Black history.
There were struggles, and it was ugly, but we made it work.
In 1975, Kenny James became the first Black woman officer for the Madison Police Department.
Same uniform as the men, same job. The women that worked prior to us, there was not equal pay and equal work. And so when we came, that started.
Growing up, she didn't think it was possible.
I said to my parents, I said, I wish I could go to the Madison Police Department and show them how to be fair to people, never guessing or even thinking I would ever be a police officer.
Banks' grandparents likely thought becoming the first Black homeowners in Madison was out of reach during the turn of the 20th century.
When they came here, they both were friends to W.E.B. Du Bois, and they were social justice pioneers. He wanted to bring his message. My grandfather was one of the original Niagara 11 that founded the NAACP.
Now, Banks dedicates her life to tell stories of Black settlers in Madison through her nonprofit, Today, Not Tomorrow.
This is a collection of stories and history, documents, and photos of early Madison settlers, and it's the stories of the joys, the heartaches.
Both Banks and Kenny James used that information in their own family lineage when presenting for Black History Month at the Fitchburg Senior Center.
Oftentimes, we hear about Black history, which is wonderful, but we never hear about it right in our backyard.
These presentations make sure that we do not lose rich Madison history that is often told through word of mouth and not included in textbooks.
During slavery, they were all separated, sent different ways. Our culture was taken. So I think our folks here in Madison just tried, like other communities across the United States, just wanted to have something more positive.
It's important to have a listening ear when hearing these stories to show where the city of Madison has been and how far it can go.
And many of us are homeowners now and, got our educations, and 100 years ago, that was almost next to impossible.
Reporting in Fitchburg, Tanisha Shaw, News 3 Now.
Tanisha, thank you. And a former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations is set to speak at UW-Madison April 1st. Linda Thomas Greenfield will speak at Memorial Union. The free public presentation will focus on the art of negotiation and will include a moderated conversation with the director of the UW-Madison La Follette School of Public Affairs. Thomas Greenfield served as ambassador to the UN under former President Joe Biden. The presentation is part of the La Follette School's Policymaker in Residence Speaker Series. After the break at 10, the U.S. House of Representatives passes a budget proposal, and deeper cuts are coming to the federal government. Why employees with tenure may now be on the chopping block. That's next.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
The Trump administration is now taking steps to begin deep cuts to federal employees who have more tenure. Government agency heads received a memo instructing them to submit reorganization plans by March 13. That includes large-scale reductions in force. Elon Musk spoke at length during today's cabinet meeting addressing the Department of Government Efficiency's coordination with agencies to make those job cuts.
We wish to keep everyone who is doing a job that is essential and doing that job well. But if the job is not essential or they're not doing the job well, they obviously should not be on the public payroll.
President Trump says some agencies will have their own versions of Doge, which could carry out even more cuts, with the EPA possibly cutting as much as 65% of its staff. House Republicans have narrowly passed a framework for a new budget. Lawmakers adopted a budget resolution that proposes raising the debt ceiling by $4 trillion to go with a $4.5 trillion tax cut and at least $2 trillion in spending cuts. The bill passed the narrowly divided House by 2 votes after a chaotic night. One Republican, Thomas Massey of Kentucky, and all Democrats voting no. President Trump worked the phones to convince some Republican holdouts to get behind the blueprint.
This is the first important step in opening up the reconciliation process. We have a lot of hard work ahead of us, but we are going to deliver the America First agenda. We're going to deliver all of it, not just parts of it, and this was the first step in that process.
House and Senate Republicans will now have to come together to agree on a budget plan to get something to the president's desk. Senate GOP lawmakers have already expressed key differences, including wanting to avoid deep cuts to Medicaid. Now we'll look at your forecast. Next couple days will be fairly windy across the region. We will warm up, though. Meteorologist Blaze Keller with all the details.
That's right. We're going to be moving in a warm air mass for your Friday back into the 50s. And then by the weekend, we're dropping our high temperatures down into the low 30s. So to do that, we're going to be windy as we look to end the weekend. Again, tonight, we could be dealing with some light rain showers. That continues into the morning hours on your Thursday. Our Clipper system that moved through overnight is being absorbed into a larger upper level low. So that means further to the east, as we go further into your Thursday, you may squeeze out a light rain shower, turning over to a light rain snow mix if that activity continues into the early evening hours. We then dry out and get ready for Friday's Clipper. This is the one that was potentially going to bring more of us the chance for precipitation, rain, snow, a mix of both, but it continues to stay off toward northeast. However, it is going to bring us breezy conditions as it quickly moves in those 50s, and then back behind it, quickly we have to cool on down as a high pressure system moving out of Canada is going to open up the skies, but keep our temperatures in the low to mid 30s, not only Saturday, but Sunday. The good news is our winds will not be as breezy this weekend, so you can get out and enjoy the sunshine. Here's a closer look at home as we're planning out our Thursday. Further to the east, that rain snow mix chance lingering through at least the mid to late morning hours. I would say closer to Lake Michigan, you're going to have the better chance for that light rain snow mix. Further to the west, it's just not looking as likely. As we go into the evening, we clear out the clouds a little bit. We'll still keep that chance for a scattered shower or a light rain snow mix further north and east into the Thursday evening time frame. And then we get ready for our next system on Friday. So we're looking at temperatures in the low to mid 40s on your Thursday. Winds are going to be a bit breezy at times, but nothing compared to the wind gusts on Friday, which could be upwards of 40, 45, maybe even 50 miles per hour once those winds turn out of the northwest as we go into the afternoon through the evening hours. And again, the reason is because we're moving this warmer air mass marked in the red here with a much cooler, drier air mass marked in the blue. So these white lines indicate the pressure at the surface. And when we see a lot of lines together, that means it's going to be breezy. And the reason, not only because we have to move out these air masses in a short amount of time, but we're doing it over a relatively short distance, the Midwest. It doesn't seem like it's a small distance, but when you look at these large weather systems, the Midwest isn't really that big, all things considered. And then we jump ahead to next week. It's going to be an active couple of days here across the Midwest. If we see this system by next Wednesday, Tuesday night into Wednesday, it could bring us another chance for not only rain, but possibly some snow as we round out next week. Both models right now not necessarily in agreement, as you can see here. However, both models are keeping this system in the Midwest. It's bouncing around, and we expect it to bounce around a little bit more here as we make our way into the weekend. So stay with News 3 Now. We'll keep you updated if that system Tuesday into Wednesday does look like it's going to potentially impact us more here across southern Wisconsin. In the meantime, 50s on Friday, and then we're starting out March in the low to mid 30s underneath plenty of sunshine.
And coming up in sports, last night was John Blackwell's world, and we were all just living in it. The message Greg Gard told his team, or told him before the game, that's next on News 3 Now. It's been a record-breaking season for Casey O'Brien. The Wisconsin forward is already in the program's all-time assists leader, but there's one more record to break, and it's within reach. O'Brien skates into this weekend with 258 career points, just 5 away from passing Hillary Knight to become UW's all-time points leader. A feat that's bound to happen and a ride that's been fun to be a part of for her teammates.
It's pretty cool to be a part of somebody like that's legacy. I mean, her name is going to be up there with the greats of people that we grew up watching and people that we grew up admiring.
Yeah, I mean, her numbers, are amazing from the standpoint that, she's in the same breath with Hillary. Hopefully she's got another good month of hockey into her as she finishes up her career here at Wisconsin.
Wisconsin bounced back in a big way last night, absolutely dominating Washington from the opening tip, and a big part of that was the play of John Blackwell. The Badger guard set the tone early, scoring 19 of his game-high 24 points in the first half and finished with his first career double-double. He was in control the entire game, thanks to a little reminder from his head coach.
I think the biggest thing with John and even with Kamari that I talked about after Saturday was you need to take command. You're the quarterbacks, you're the point guards. You need to, it doesn't mean you have to go score 30, but you have to command.
I think it's key to stay aggressive even when it's not going, because if you're not scoring, just staying aggressive provides opportunity for other teammates.
Sarah Williams and the Wisconsin women with the tall task of slowing down second-ranked UCLA tonight, and Williams was doing her thing, backing them down and scoring in the paint for 2 of her team-high 22 points. That bucket gives the Badgers an early lead, but that lead wouldn't last long because they had no answer for Lauren Betts. Off the glass for 2, she finished with 26. Wisconsin falls 91-61. And the Platteville men will play for a WIAC championship in the conference's automatic bid for the NCAA tournament after taking down Stevens Point tonight. The Pointers will host UWL in the final on Friday. We'll be back after this.
And Blaze is back. One final check of the forecast.
Yeah, looking at a rain-snow mix to start off your Thursday, drying out into the afternoon, and then maybe a light rain-snow mix further north and east to end Thursday. Low to mid-40s, breezy at times, but it's going to be much windier on Friday, especially into the afternoon after we climb into those low 50s. Enjoy the warmth because we're back into the 30s for the weekend, but it will be sunny. 40s return right around the corner. Starting off our next work week, upper 40s to low 50s.
Final stretch of February already. We're all ready for a warm-up, Blaze. Thanks. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10, folks. Have a great night.